Okay, well, what we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra-dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Laughing Skull podcast. Today I want to talk about UFO theories that I have. I actually wanted to have somebody do this one with me because I wanted to see if anybody else had any, theories that I didn't have. But I kind of planned this one last second because I was originally going to talk about Bigfoot because I really wanted to do Bigfoot, but I feel like that one's a little bit too big to do just one episode on. Because there's so much fucking history about Bigfoot, so much lore, so many stories. I kind of don't feel like I can do it in my average 20 to 30 minute span that I do for these podcasts. But the UFO theories, I feel like I can maybe stretch it out maybe that long. So I think it's really funny starting off the bat how we are just now acknowledging the fact that UFOs exist. And now the government's calling them UFAs, I believe. Because I guess UFO has a bad rep for, I guess, the term. Because technically it doesn't necessarily mean like alien spacecraft. It's supposed to just mean anything that's like unidentified, that's like in the air, something flying. And it's synonymously just represented as, an alien craft or just something from another world that I guess would technically be alien in terminology as well, but you know what I'm getting at here. But I think it's funny that, now suddenly it's public eye and no one's really freaking out about this. Nobody's really batting an eye. We've all just kind of accepted it, which, funny enough, maybe 20, 30 years ago, this probably wouldn't be the case at all. People would be having much bigger reactions towards this. It's kind of strange the government would just come out and, admit to it. But from what I understand, Trump was the one that had everything declassified. So we already have information, and it wasn't until just recently, just in the last couple of years, we didn't even know Area 51 was technically real. It was kind of like a joke. Now, I don't know if UFOs actually come from Area 51, obviously. I mean, it isn't actually that far from where I live. It's just a couple hours. And I actually was going to be one of the people that did the whole Storm Area 51 thing, but I didn't take work off for it because I forgot it was that particular Saturday that it happened on. I believe it was Saturday. But I didn't get to go regardless, which is pretty unfortunate because it could have been a cool little, a little adventure. But I want to say otherwise. It turned out to be pretty lame. But I want to just start this off by pretty much stating, have you ever noticed that anytime we have any kind of footage of a UFO, it's never actually in space? It's never been taken outside of our planet. As far as I'm aware, and I've looked into this quite a bit, but that doesn't mean I'm like the all-knowing when it comes to information on this stuff, of course. But everything I've researched on, everything I've looked into, it's not necessarily from outer space. We like to think it is because it looks like it'd be otherworldly, like it just no way it could be crafted by human hands on our own planet with the technology that we are limited to. I've had theories in the past where I believe that it came from the other side of the moon, which is why we never see the other side of the moon. But I don't know if that's necessarily a good thought. There's a popular theory that UFOs and aliens come from like other dimensions, otherworldly planes of existence outside of our own reality. That's an interesting concept as well. We actually have many, many, many videos and photographs over the years. There's UFOs mentioned in the fucking Bible. Now that's the one that gets me because me and my boss were actually having a talk about this. And she's super freaking Christian. This woman is the definition of a Bible reader. That's like the only book she has, and she reads it every day on her lunch break at work. It's actually kind of funny. I myself am not religious, so whenever we have our religious talks, when she talks to me about like the Bible and the meanings of life and everything, it's quite interesting for me because I never take a lot of the stuff into perspective because I never really thought about this stuff. So in the Bible, she states, I should say, that it does mention about boats and ships, but it never actually specifies that they're in the water. And she has this theory that Noah's Ark was actually a spacecraft. And it wasn't that we loaded up 2 of every animal, it actually brought to Earth 2 of every animal from different planets. And I think it's kind of funny because it does remind me of that South Park episode where I guess Planet Earth was just basically a reality TV show where all life comes from different planets, and we just kind of mix everything up together on one planet to see the reaction. It's like the ultimate TV show, right? Which it kind of feels like that could be a possibility, what it's based off of. I mean, who really knows? A lot of these stories are pretty fantastic for the time periods that they came, and I know they've been updated for man over the years, but it's a very interesting thought, especially when you look at like Ancient Aliens. If you ever watched that show, a lot of them like to specialize, or a lot of them want to claim that aliens had a lot to do with our previous progression as, you know, society over the many years. So when you look at Stonehenge, for instance, it's kind of, you know, speculated that aliens are involved with that. When you look at the pyramids, it's kind of speculated aliens are involved with that. The Eastern Island heads as well. I mean, that's kind of strange how, you know, these formations are created knowing with the technology and limited capabilities of actually moving them at the time period is pretty restrictive. As far as I'm aware, whenever the pyramids were created, the wheel hasn't even been invented. So it's like, how did you build that? Now it's speculated that they use like wet sand or whatever to be able to move it, but nobody could really know for sure because we weren't technically there at the time. There's really no evidence of it being like built that way, you know what I mean? So when it comes to UFOs, I kind of feel like in my own theory, they actually come from the ocean. And the reason I say this is for, well, just pretty much a multitude of reasons. A lot of photographs of UFOs actually come around water, which is funny because if you've ever seen the movie Signs, which is one of my favorite movies, it's actually my favorite horror movie, not even though it's not really a horror movie, but it's pretty scary. In the movie Signs, aliens kind of want to stay away from water, but in reality, most UFOs actually are seen around water, or they're seen around big cities. You hear stories about them out in the middle of nowhere, but there's never really any proof of that. It's always around like a city or a body of water, especially with the military being involved in taking photographs and videos of these. They go from like 80,000 feet to 50,000 feet in a mere second. There's no propulsion system. It's kind of like, the way I see it is they were meant to be underwater to deal with the water pressure and be able to like move quickly in the water. But when they're out of the water, you just move quicker. It's kind of like whenever you go swimming, you move much slower in the water, but when you get out, you move quicker. Maybe that's why they move so fast. I don't really know. Maybe they don't have to use a propulsion system because when you're in the water, you don't have to use fire or fuel to move. Typically, you just use like I don't know what they're called, but like the little spinny fan thing. Propeller? Yeah, propeller. Sorry. It's like 4 a.m. recording this right now. But it's just kind of interesting to me, like, because it does kind of tie into the whole, like, why we're not allowed to, not really necessarily allowed to, but we don't take any interest in exploring the ocean, as if we have some kind of idea that there's actually something down there that we're kind of afraid to learn about. It's kind of interesting, though, because like we know more about space than we do of our own ocean. That is the craziest shit to me. And a lot of people's, justification of it is like it's too dangerous to explore the ocean. The water pressure is too advanced. My thing is, if we have the technology to get to the moon, to get to Mars, to send satellites out past Pluto, we should be able to figure out how to get to the bottom of the ocean. I don't feel like it's really that difficult in terms of like the way humanity has progressed and advanced in our technologies and gotten better with this. I absolutely believe that we could figure out how to get in there. So I don't know. I feel like we're probably hiding something, and we're just releasing things that are declassified or whatever, just for the public to get some kind of safe feelings towards it, I guess, if you catch my drift. I mean, that's just kind of how I feel on it. I don't know. Like, to me, it's pretty interesting because if aliens never came from space, it does kind of prove, in my opinion, it does kind of prove the whole flat Earth theory. Because I believe with the flat Earth theory, it's kind of like the Earth is the only plane of existence. If I remember this correctly, it's like the only plane of existence in the universe that actually has life. And it kind of goes into the whole Antarctica theory too, where the whole world is like flat, of course, but like Antarctica surrounds the border, and there's a good reason why people aren't allowed to go to Antarctica. If you didn't know this, you're only allowed to go there if you're under like supervision, or if you're escorted by military, or just with some scientists doing an expedition, but you're still monitored, you're still watched. You just can't live there, you can't go there. The world government has decided like to enforce this. It just makes me wonder if it's all connected with the UFOs, because I know a lot of people just want to think of like flat earth theory as kind of like the way the world is or whatever, but I'm more thinking about UFOs whenever I think about this stuff, because I do find the theory quite interesting. It just makes me really, really wonder, what do we not know? What do we need to know? What's going on? Are there really aliens? Are they really life forms? My theory, like the aliens, if they are piloting these ships, I don't want to think that they're like a bioorganism, like, you and I. I'm kind of at this point where I'm starting to think that they might be more machine than anything, which is why they can think much faster than us. They can create much better things. It's kind of like an assembly, like a factory drone. Maybe they're machine organisms. I don't know. I don't really have any understanding of it. I mean, I don't think anybody really does. But I know like a lot of people would want to, think that they have to live their life based off of how life on Earth does. And if they are from the ocean, I mean, I guess that theory has some merit to it, but I don't really have an answer for that. I mean, to me, it is fascinating. I would like to know more about the ocean, whether or not it's actually is the home to UFOs. If alien life does come from the bottom of the sea, that would be kind of interesting. It could probably play into the whole H.P. Lovecraft theory, because a lot of people actually believe in that. Like, it's true. There are actually people who worship Cthulhu, and Cthulhu is stated to probably, I think, live at the bottom of the ocean. So, who knows? I mean, when people talk about being abducted by UFOs, I mean, maybe you're just being submerged in a submarine. Maybe the Megalodon's down there too, and the Kraken and everything else. I mean, the Great Leviathan. I don't know. These are just things I want to kind of like think about. There's more, but I don't know. It's just kind of like, this is just one of those ones where I feel like I should have somebody else on the podcast with me talking to about this. I feel like that'd make more of an interesting episode, but I don't really have anybody that probably has theories on this kind of stuff like I do. So I'm kind of restricted and limited on this, but I don't know. What do you think? Do you think UFOs come from our own planet? Are they really people? Are they us from the future? Are they hostile? Do they have any kind of negative feelings towards humans? Are they here to just help us advance? I mean, there are stories where airplane pilots are just not necessarily airplane pilots, but like jet fighters are just spotting these things, trying to film them, and they return to the base and the UFO is already there waiting on them. It's as if like, hey, I know you're here. You can't really pick them up on radar unless they allow you to, which is pretty much an act of war. So maybe we should be taking them serious or whatever. I mean, if you've seen signs, they kind of just suggest that they're either here for like two reasons. They're here for us, to harvest us, kidnap us, eat us, use us for amusement, to destroy us, learn from us, or they're just here to spread the message of love and greater knowledge of the universe. I don't know. It is pretty interesting though, and I would like to hear what other people have to say about this. I mean, this is, like I said, one of those ones where I feel like you should just sit down and have a discussion with somebody about. But it is what it is. What do you guys think? Do you believe the aliens come from the bottom of the ocean? Do you believe they're from space or from the space between spaces? Like different universe, different reality. I mean, maybe the aliens are technically the demons from, religion. That, I mean, that kind of ties into the movie Signs as well, if you know what I'm getting at. But I don't know, maybe aliens are just the demons that possess people. Maybe aliens are the things that you see whenever you smoke DMT and you experience machine hells and you see different universes and shit. Maybe whenever people do that, you're kind of allowing a door to open. I mean, who really knows? It's a fascinating thing to think about, I would like to imagine. But it's up for debate because we don't really have any answers at this point in life. And I mean, I am glad that, you know, the government and everybody are starting to take this more serious, because if this is it is a potential threat. It is something that we should take with some caution, I would like to think. But, you know, that's just my opinion on it. Let me know what you think, and I hope everybody had a good day. This has been Bazzbe, the host of the Laughing Skull podcast, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.